Hi,
Hey,
I missed you.
missed you too.
I've been with you every day, but just not on the microphone.
Yeah, we missed you guys too.
Yeah.
We hope you had a great 4th of July, however you spent it this year. And it was nice to have a little bit of rest on our end. And I'm sure, I hope that everyone had a restful weekend or a fucking raging weekend.
Exactly.
Time of their lives.
Whatever you needed.
Whatever you needed, I hope you got.
Same.
Of last week.
Today, we are going to talk about
silver linings and finding joy in the aftermath of sadness.
Yeah.
And actually, not really in the aftermath. I would say finding joy in the midst of sadness too. The midst of, a storm.
Totally. It felt like a very relevant conversation coming off of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, really going in depth about Ryan's story and experience and our family's experience. And that is deeply painful.
Yeah.
Life experience to dig up and go through with a fine-tooth comb the way that we did. But it was necessary for Ryan. It's what he deserves. And it's also necessary for us to continue to work through our shit and to really have autonomy over our story and our life experience. And it was beneficial in a million ways, painful in a million ways. And what comes to mind after working on something like that is balancing out the yin and yang and coming back to gratitude for life and all of the ways that we try to incorporate love and healing and looking for the good. Not in a toxically positive way, but in the way that keeps us afloat and moving forward.
Yeah. This is going to be really woo-woo, but I think both of us are like this in that I think we seek a higher understanding of what we're down here to do on a soul level, and understanding that I can speak for myself personally, and I think this is just a human experience. You have days where everything feels very small and your problems and your feelings feel very big, which is very relevant, honestly. But I think at the end of the day, we have in-depth discussions regularly about kind of being on this soul journey and having this experience where it's a choice to continue to lean into the path that you've been given, but at the end of the day, you are given the hand that you're dealt. And so I think today we just kind of want to talk about, personally, how we've tried to snowball our experiences, with Ryan and just generally in our own lives as individuals into continuing to seek joy and build our souls in a light and positive way while using the darkness and sitting in that too. It's not about shunning that. It's not about trying to forget about it. It's actually about fully stepping into it and leaning into embodying it. And
yeah, that was an idea that I was thinking about that you kind of inspired it in me before we sat down was, where do silver linings sit? Like, where do they exist? And I think when you look at them in maybe more of a shallow or a cheap way, they sit in ignoring pain and in constant pursuit of lighter, happier feelings. Whereas where I think it really sits, like where the real rich beauty of life can come as a result of trauma, or you can choose that. I think where it really comes from is healing, like making the choice to heal.
Yeah.
Or to move in the direction that you believe is toward your personal well-being.
Yeah.
Mind, body, soul, well-being. And in that journey of walking towards healing and trying to figure out who you are in the midst of a storm and meeting the truth, so much beauty comes out of that journey. And so much inspiration comes because you being willing to be honest in a world where not everybody is. And that's not even trying to sound shady. That's just, it's a defense mechanism and a coping mechanism for a lot of people to put on some sort of act, character, facade to get through their lives. But when you're willing to really be real about what has happened and to choose to walk through that day by day, opportunities and people who are on that same path that are in line with that arise, and you have so much ability to continue to lean deeper and deeper into who you really are. And it allows you to see new paths that you wouldn't have seen if you weren't committed to that faith walk, really, and
Yeah.
to that honesty inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think often about the lineage of addiction in our family, and I feel incredibly grateful to not personally have experienced that myself, you know, but by
Me too.
proxy through my loved ones, I did. And that was a journey in loving addicts where I was able to use their experience to course correct. And I never even had to say no to drugs. I never even wanted to do drugs, you know? And that's all to say, I want to make clear I actually do have addictive tendencies and I absolutely self-soothe. You know what I mean? So
we all do. We all self-soothe.
Yeah. So I don't mean to say that I'm like everything that I do is with the most sober of minds, you know, like the little box that we all sit on all day, you know, there's a million different ways too. But I feel very grateful to have the privilege to walk through life and these experiences with a sober mind. And I know that that hasn't been everyone's walk. And it brings me a lot of joy, honestly, to know that I don't seek substance in my moments of low, you know, to move me through.
Yeah. That's definitely a blessing. And it's also said compassionately because, like you said, we have some of the people that we love the most in the world who have struggled deeply with that. And
drugs have just broken my heart. You know what I mean? Like they've just broken my heart and I hate them.
I hate them too. And you know what's crazy is that I know that everybody that's ever struggled with addiction does not want to be an addict.
Hell
like they
no.
didn't start their life and say, oh yeah, this is what I want to be. I would love to have an addiction specialist come on and talk to us about, you know, the deep roots of these things, because as much exposure as I've had to this, I understand that there's so much depth and intricacy to this experience and the internalization of pain and suffering that people are experiencing where they develop certain coping mechanisms. And there's the element of it being a disease as well, where this can be passed down genetically and it's intricate. And so I'm not going to try and act like I know everything about it, even with all of my life experience and exposure. But all of that is to say, you're right. It is a major blessing and almost kind of a privilege.
Yeah, it is.
To stare pain in the face soberly.
Yeah.
And for that to be your starting point.
Yeah.
You know, of where you're walking through it.
No, I feel seriously grateful to God that he put it on my heart, because it often happens one of two ways. You either fall into it, obviously, to mask the pain, or it completely repels you, you know, and you're like, you learn by proxy through the people that you experience it through, you know? And I feel truly grateful that that was my response, you know, because I do have certain addictive tendencies in, just my family line, obviously, but even in my personality type. So that's something that I truly, truly feel grateful for. And I don't even know that it's necessarily, I suppose it's a choice, but it's genuinely just like I'm so repelled from it naturally. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I was introduced to this Albert Einstein quote this week, which says, adversity introduces a man to himself. And it felt so perfect for this subject because it does feel like it opens up the conversation of autonomy and personal choice and your participation in how you respond to any given situation that life throws at you, any challenge. And I definitely don't want to oversimplify like, oh, well, hard shit happens in life and how are you going to respond to it? And everybody as an individual needs to, you know, that's what shows your character. Everything about these conversations is so nuanced, and it does nothing good for anyone to act like the only influence at play in life is our personal choice. That, I think, allows our society to justify not reckoning with the truth of what's going on in our communities and how many, many people do not have access to the resources that they need, and how there's so much inequity in access and in opportunity. So I definitely don't want to act like all that matters is our personal choice. However, there is a very valid conversation to be had regarding how do we respond to life.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's a lot easier to respond to life productively,
yeah.
when you're supported
Yeah.
and when you have the resources that you need, which is why we need to invest in people and we need to invest in communities and the well-being of the people who live in our communities.
Well, what's interesting too, and not to go down a rabbit hole on that, but when you say that, what comes to mind is we're not even talking about mental health resources. We're talking about base level necessities of life.
Yeah.
Like survival, you know? So you can't get to a place of healing when you're constantly in survival mode of trying to make sure that you have every red cent in your name, you know? It's not, some communities never have the chance to even get to the point where they get to ask themselves how do they feel, because they're in a constant state of fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Some individuals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Again, not to take away the reality that we need to be reckoning with how our society operates and how our systems are built and how they negatively affect large groups of people. And all of that is the truth. And it's kind of a two-pronged solution where we as a society are honest about how we're treating people and how we're investing into people and the inequities that exist, while simultaneously each of us as individuals are reckoning with how we react and respond to our lives as individuals. But I would say every single person that I know who's on a recovery journey or on a journey to being rehabilitated, they so loudly speak on the fact that you have to start with yourself, because we are not in control of everything that's going on around us at all times. And if we constantly allow ourselves to fall prey to our environment and what's going on around us, then we have absolutely zero autonomy over ourselves and our choice. And it starts to become our reality that that we aren't even making choices, right?
Yeah.
Like we start to really believe that we're not even making choices, that things are just happening to us and everything's just chaotic and usually negative. But we are making decisions at all times. And to get to the point where you are self-aware, you've built enough self-awareness and you walk a walk of accountability and you make decisions intentionally in the direction of the person that you want to be and the life that you would like to create for yourself, that is very necessary.
Yeah.
To get to a place where you are really meeting your healing in your whole self and where you're able to contribute the unique, beautiful things that you have to contribute to the world. But yeah, adversity introduces a man to himself. I find that concept so beautiful because I'm going to get into corny territory right now. I'm verging on corny, but there is truth in knowing and being intimately familiar with feeling hurt and feeling pain and feeling fear and discomfort and self-doubt. Being intimate with those feelings does allow you the opportunity to have a deeper intimacy with the opposite experience of gratitude, joy, connection.
Yeah.
If you invest into the moments, like the opportunities that you're given in life to have all those things. Sometimes deep fear, deep sadness, all of that stuff makes you too afraid to latch on to joy, gratitude, all those things, because then you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's like, well, I'm used to things being like shitty. And most of the time, I think that this is subconscious. I don't even think that this is necessarily conscious. Sometimes it is, but I think that it's really a practice to continue to open yourself up to beauty and joy and love after trauma and pain, you know? But I also think that like you have such a depth available to you on that opposite end of the spectrum if you start to, you know, work internally on the healing and practicing allowing, you know, the beautiful things in. I just think that there's a richness to that experience that's available to you that might be above and far above and beyond anybody who hasn't maybe had to work through the same levels of of hurt, really, is what it is.
Yeah.
So that yin and yang of life, I wish that everybody who went through really traumatic life experiences or just hurt at all, could feel that they are entitled to beauty and love and that it exists for them.
Yeah. And I think for a personality type like mine, too, I said at the end of this last episode that we put out, I struggle with the finality of Ryan's experience through his life and then losing his life to that experience, and I think any loved one would. But at this point in my journey, channeling that energy, that confusion, that frustration into taking steps to not let it happen again, maybe to someone else. Going back inside prisons and connecting with them and loving them and reminding them that they're not forgotten and they're valid in their humanity, It's been incredibly powerful for me to channel my energy of rage and frustration over being cheated and my loved one being tortured and hurt and, left there to die, essentially. Sorry, that's so gnarly to say, but it's true, and just struggling with those feelings and the finality of the situation, and then being able to find ways to put that into goodness into the world.
Redirect it and channel it.
Exactly. I feel that it's cleaned out energy pathways in my body.
So true.
That were stagnant.
Yes.
And I suppose I'm saying this because this also, for me, can be a habit of not stopping and feeling. I think I kind of lead with the masculine sometimes in my body of doing instead of stopping and feeling and emoting and sitting in it. That's such a critical part. Being able to identify your feelings and feel them and name them and speak them and all these things. It's incredibly, incredibly important. But getting to the point where you feel like you've done that and you can channel that energy in your body into creating good in the world not only feels like it cleans you out of any stagnant gunk in your body, but in the most beautiful way, in the circumstance with Ryan, it keeps him alive and it keeps his legacy going, and his energy that he passed to me and my love for him. They say grief is love with nowhere to go. And it just feels like I get to funnel all of my love for him into this community of people that needs it so bad. And what more could you ask for someone's legacy than to leave that? So it just makes me feel like I'm keeping him alive and that he really is living through me in those moments.
Yeah. And I would even say, because you said sitting in those feelings is so important, and I'm more of a doer and an action, and I want to, channel my energy. But the act of pouring yourself into community and sharing life with community is sitting in the hurt. Every single time we go into a prison, we sit deep as fuck in those feelings. And there's almost nowhere that I go that I do that more than there, because we are creating space to see other people for who they are and for them to express themselves. And they are allowing us that same space to express ourselves. And I think if anybody's looking for a pathway to healing whatever you're going through, investing yourself into a community of people who understand that life experience is such an incredible way to, like you said, channel the hard emotions, but also release them, because that community is non-judgmental of you releasing your feelings and your emotions and the truth of the experience that you had. And so it's not like we're just going in there and being like, go ahead, pour into me and I'll take it all. It's like we are also letting it all out, from the depths of our souls. And that's why it's so fulfilling to us, is because there's a mutual exchange of love and understanding and growth and empathy there that we find. And so I feel like silver lining can really exist in community that you build. All of us could have gone through really hard life experiences. A lot of the people that we meet have gone through way more intense stuff than we have. And so we can't relate on every little thing, but there is shared humanity and respect that gives people the freedom to confront the truth of their lives
Mm-hmm.
and either start that walk or continue that walk with confidence, because they start building real relationships as a result of being truthful and authentic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like rare that you find that in life, where you find a place to feel safe being your ugliest self, really.
Yeah.
But I think that the places that you can find that are in reconnecting with people who understand what you've been through. And so if you can find any sort of community that can relate to some of the struggles that you've been through, I would highly encourage people to do it, because I think there you can find like such a richness of humanity and such a range of emotional experience, and you can feel all the things.
Yeah. You know, what I'm about to talk about is something that I'm really trying to learn better myself. So I'm actually sharing it just with the viewpoint of not really being a master at it, but understanding how powerful it is. But Carly and I were talking yesterday about a circumstance that we're incredibly hopeful about.
Mm-hmm.
And we, were speaking energy and love into it, and excitement and nerves and all the things that come around something that you're hopeful about,
Mm-hmm.
And this particular situation, I feel that there's a lot of magical energy around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reminded yesterday when we were having this conversation, and after we were talking about it, I felt like when I was looking at the world, there was all of these signs that were affirming things for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do understand is that you really do have to keep your mind open to them and look for them, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And once you believe that the goodness exists, you start really seeing it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone that can get very, especially right now, like can get very stuck in my mind, and then negativity starts to be affirmed,
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reminded yesterday for a couple of hours just how once you see it and you believe and remember that it's there, you start seeing it in everything. And this
Mm-hmm.
like gratitude pours over you of just seeing all of this hope in everywhere that you look.
It's like what you water grows.
100%. And so I suppose this just goes back to the choices that we all have of deciding what we're going to affirm in a moment
Mm-hmm.
about life, about ourselves, about goodness, about hope and what's possible, even if you're feeling awful. I was
Mm-hmm.
honestly feeling awful yesterday. And then I had these moments in the middle of the day where it's like magic was being affirmed in my life, So I just wanted to share that, because as someone who is trying to kind of learn that better and remember that better myself, it's incredibly powerful, and you have to let yourself lean in, and you really have to. I was talking to my girlfriends the other night about the idea of awe walks, where you go on a walk and you try to look up. And
my favorite with Cub.
Gosh, I don't go on them enough. I went on one this morning though.
I try, like without music, which is hard because we love music so
Yeah.
much, but without music and really listening to the sounds.
Yes, that's what we were talking about the other night. And I tried to do that this morning. I pretty much did it on my whole walk. But the idea of an awe walk, where you go and you have no distractions or stimulations, and you just look up. Honestly, you look up and you take in your surroundings fully, And I really do know. It's not even that I believe. It's like I know that the more you do that, the more goodness is affirmed. And so I feel very grateful. I feel grateful to come from a mom particularly. And, my whole family, we've really, I feel like, taken after our mom. But my mom is so rooted in her faith, and she's such a hopeful, loving woman.
Mm-hmm.
And through all of our trials and tribulations as a family, and her trials and tribulations as an individual and a mother and a wife and whatever else, she remains steadfast in her hope and her joy for life. And it's without even really understanding the depths of how it's affected me and us. I know that she's such a light seeker, and she's such a light in general, that she just attracts the light. And we all, I really do believe we have that in us. But her path to that, I think, is really rooted in her faith and her like stronghold belief that God is good, honestly.
Yeah. And your faith gets to look like whatever you want it to look
absolutely.
like. I don't want to be overly politically correct because it's annoying, but I do want to say that the point isn't to be perfect about it. The point isn't like, what are you always focusing it on at any moment? But
No.
it's to bring to your awareness that we have more control over our thoughts and our perspectives than we give ourselves credit for.
Mhm.
And so it's you allowing yourself to course correct when you realize you've been, digging your head in quicksand of negativity and fear and all of that, and looking up away from all of the
distractions,
intensity of this insular experience that we're having in our brains and in our bodies, and take a deep breath and try to recalibrate our nervous system every once in a while and retune our senses towards beauty and awe and curiosity and hope, and the understanding that I want to give everyone credit and remind everybody that, again, I'm verging on corny, but you've gotten through all of your hardest days up until this point. You've survived and you can do it. You can do this, and ask for help. Ask for help from people and seek out community that understands, and don't feel like you have to take on the burden of life entirely alone. We're not meant to do that. And I definitely think that even just having you, and we are so lucky that we have our relationship the way that it is, and we work hard on it, but we're blessed with each other as siblings. And even just having you changes my experience of life, because I know that I'm not alone, and investing in those relationships is so important. And I just hope that everybody can reach out when they're feeling overwhelmed with life and confused and scared, and, seek comfort in community.
Yeah. And on that note, this may be verging into another topic too, but Carly and I have been talking a lot recently about dead weight in friendships and cleaning out those energy pathways and making sure that you're not holding on to old connections that don't necessarily serve you anymore because you're scared to lose people, I believe so deeply in my heart that what's not for you will be replaced with something that's so much more suited for you. Cut the people that don't support your path towards light.
Yeah.
I'm not saying your path towards positivity, constant positivity. That's not what light is. You know what I mean? You got to stay away from those energy suckers though, y'all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally.
It's a journey. It's a journey. But it is a journey of perspective. It's absolutely a game of perspective. And I'm very much so a student of life in this way.
I'm a firm believer that people who have been through some of the worst stuff in life have even larger capacity in their hearts for empathy and understanding, and have access to such deep wisdom of what it means to be a human being. And that can be such a gift to offer the world. So, anyone who has suffered or struggled, I just hope that you can recognize, the gorgeous humanity that you have inside of you, and how much the world can benefit from your perspective on life and what you've earned really by what you've gone through. So, I always like to say you've earned your story and you've walked your walk. And I think that all of us have something enriching to share with the world. And I would encourage everybody to continue down that path to share what they've earned, and it can be such an offering to the world to do that. So that's my 2 cents.
Absolutely.
It would honestly be my hope for the world that everybody would have the resources that they need and the support that they need to approach their healing, even if it's just the support that you find through faith or whatever it is, your foundational needs be met so that you can meet some healing. That would be my hope for the world. So we're working on it. We want to contribute to facilitating as many people healing as possible, or, taking another step down their journey towards healing. So
definitely.
That's the goal.
Definitely.
And yeah, so if anybody wants to keep going down our journey with us, we have just felt honored by the support, and we hope to keep building a community of people that are like-minded and that even can be supportive of each other on your own journeys, outside of whatever it is we're talking about. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here. We love you so much.
And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Instagram and TikTok. Both our Instagram and our TikTok are at Safe Space Convos.
Yeah. It's the same as our Spotify name.
It's like really lovely people over there. Everyone's so nice and supportive, and they're talking to each other in the comments and supporting each other. I saw like a couple moms of incarcerated people talking about supporting each other, and I was just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It was beautiful. So if you want to come hang with us over there, we put up clips and original content and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much. If you have any ideas about this, or like thoughts or feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. You can share it with us. And yeah, if you have anything that you want to hear from us, we would love to know what people would want to hear about from us. We're so curious to see, you know, what people are drawn to and what they want to know. So yeah, let us know. Okay. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.